Welcome back to the Table Rush Talk Show, where we dive deep into entrepreneurship, marketing, and personal growth. I'm your host, Mischa Zvegintzov, and today's guest is a true warrior of the sales world, a lifelong friend, and a man who's been walking the path of service and sobriety for over 30 years. Greg Chick has sold millions in annuities and insurance, sat across from thousands of clients in living rooms and dinner seminars, and still shows up with passion, clarity, and one heck of a sense of humor. If you're in sales or service, this episode is going to hit home, teach you a thing or two, and make you say, did that really happen? Stick around. This is going to be a ride. Okay, ready?
Let's go.
Greg Chick, welcome to the show. Love that you're willing to step up to the plate to have some fun and to share your experience, strength, and hope in the sales world. You ready to get after it?
Let's go, baby.
Greg, for people who don't know you, what do you do these days and how do you help people when it comes to Medicare?
So what I do every day is I begin marketing every month with a Medicare workshop. I use Facebook as the tool to attract people turning 65. My whole approach is I start marketing to people a year before they turn 65. Therefore, I'm ahead of all the other knuckleheads who are trying to catch up. So when they come to the workshop using Facebook, I'll get about 30 to 50 people at each event, of which you have been to one of my events.
And it was awesome, ton of fun, great crowd engagement. I liked, what did I really like? I liked the info that you brought. I liked the humor that you brought. I liked the, I don't know if grounding or what's the word I'm looking for? Just down to earth viewpoint of the whole thing.
Well, to keep it so simple in the world of marketing is that most people that we meet are going to have an idea of what they're going to do or what they're not going to do. So the objective I've learned after doing workshops for years and years and years and years and years is I need to take them off of their game plan immediately, which is why I begin with playing music for the Beatles, because they all recognize that area, that genre, if you will. I don't think there's but maybe a half a dozen people in all the years I've been doing this that don't know who the Beatles are. So it's a way for all people to connect. And sometimes, I see people move into the beat of the music before the event begins. And that's when I know it's going to be a good event. Okay. But the idea behind that marketing strategy is I'm going to call it the genius that I stole from someone else. I have very few good ideas, and the ones I have, nobody knows. So the ones I'm sharing are the ones I've received along the way. So I watched a guy do an event years ago, and I took a lot of notes, and I thought that his approach was very smart. So he was playing music prior to the event, and what I decided as I was taking those notes is I wrote down, and I still remember the moment, ask people what albums they liked. So the idea behind that, if you recall from the workshop, was making an introduction to why I brought the particular album, and then pausing to let them tell me what albums they liked from that same timeline. And that begins to break the ice, and they begin to forget what they thought they were going to do or what they said they're not going to do.
And then your what's the name of that song again?
The Beatles song? Will you still need me? Will you still need me when I'm 64?
Yes. Amazing. And then you tell me a little bit about your follow-up process. So it's you advertise to on Facebook to fill the free event, the Medicare seminar. You offer a free meal as well, which is great. And then you have a whole, in 3 minutes.
I do.
Less.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I've also had great success doing mailers. Okay. But the mailers require a lot more work from myself, and the work that was involved in doing the mailer. Then I'll explain what we do on Facebook, because, and I'm an open book. I'll share anything I have with anyone that is open to receiving it, because there's 10,000 people a day turning 65 for 20 years. There are plenty of people. And I've always believed in abundance, and I've never believed in competition. I don't see things that simple. That's too simple a way. The world and the universe is bigger than that. So when I do mailers, I would mail about 2,000 or 3,000 pieces. So I think 2,500 was the magic number to get the right price. And then from the process, then people would call a marketing number, and I use a Google Drive number or a Google number. And then from there, I would have to, write their name down when they called in and get their phone number. Then I'd have to follow up with a voicemail thanking them for signing up. Then I would follow up with another phone call and follow up with a text the day before and the day out of the event. It's a lot of work. Okay. And you know me, Mischa, I'm not opposed to working hard, but working smarter is much easier. So I found a group of people through a company that I write my annuities through, and they've got Facebook dialed in. So dialed in that this particular company has 2 women, and they coincidentally live in San Diego, which is where I live, which is so amazing. And they've become such good friends on the phone. I've never met with them. Don't know why. They're all busy. But they follow up with the phone calls, the emails, the texts. Then the day of the event, I get sent a spreadsheet showing who is not coming, who is coming. And then Jacob, my dear friend Jacob, he puts it in a different format. Then at the event, we check off people who said they were coming, or we write in the names of people that just show up, because randomly we'll get 2 or 3 or more people that just didn't sign up, didn't do anything. They got the invite and just went. So the follow-up from there is really important. So I do workshops in 2 places, and I do that because I'm simple and my brain doesn't work very well, and I don't want to make it complicated. So, in fact, I'll just show you this. This is my in-office follow-up process. Got it?
Yep.
All right. So the green folders are coming from a different restaurant than the gold folders, and the blue folders are referrals. So the follow-up is everything in sales. This is why most salespeople never make it, because their follow-up sucks, or they're just too damn lazy. You want to be successful in sales, folks? You can't be lazy. People are not following you.
Amazing. So good. Thank you for sharing that. And then as you're educating people on the Medicare process, some of them, after they sign up for Medicare, or maybe even if they don't sign up through Medicare through you, or they just don't sign up, sometimes those people will have an interest in annuities and maybe moving some of their insurance investment products around. Is that sort of the rest of the story? You oftentimes are able to serve there when somebody's being underserved.
Well, yeah. So, I did a lot in the past Social Security workshops and retirement planning workshops, estate planning workshops. And here's why, I don't really market the all those services anymore. Here's what I do, and I found this is a much more comfortable process for me in particular, but for most people, is that 2,000 people, they turn to 65, they need help, and they're all afraid. They're afraid because they hear these that they could be fined, or there's penalties or whatever. So the education is most important, and that's what the workshop does. But I'll come back to your question in a moment. But so the workshop then also because they learn new things, stimulates new questions. That's really what it's designed to do. I want you to have new questions that I don't answer that you need to get in touch with me. So through the process, here's the difficulty of the business for Medicare agents, is that most Medicare people are order takers. It's easy to fall into that because people need what you have. But there are certain rules on how cross-selling works. So you got to be very careful how you approach that. And so I just found that when people will tell me many times if they have concerns in these areas, and then I can bring it back to them what I'm able to do.
Got you. Got you. Makes perfect sense. Thank you for that answer. You and I go way back, but for the listeners, how did you get into this world of insurance, sales, and service? And what were those early days like?
Well, all right. It's interesting because just yesterday I had lunch with one of my first bosses, and I hadn't seen him in years. And in fact, when we made the appointment for lunch, I told him, I said, when I worked for you, I chose not to be your friend. I always admired you and respected you, but the water gets muddy between friends and bosses. And so I chose to keep those lines separate. And that's probably why we still like each other.
Right?
But, in the early days, everything was done by telemarketing. Everything was done in the home, everything. So both Mischa and I have done a lot of telemarketing in our lives. And so, it's funny. I went through some bumps and scrapes in the road, and I got this job telemarketing for a trust company 30 plus years ago. And, I'm so grateful for that job because I didn't really know I had those telemarketing skills. So what they had me do was make appointments, people to go buy living trusts. And after about a year of that, I still remember matter of fact, the guy that hired me at that job, his name is Dennis Soto. And he is still my friend, Mischa. I just talked to him today on the phone. Crazy how the world goes on. When I walked into his office and I looked him in the eye and I said, "Do you see this vein right here?" And I pointed to my forehead. He goes, "No." And I said, "Well, you're about to. This vein is going to blow and it's going to be bloody. So you got to get me out of this road because I can't do this anymore." They didn't want to advance me because I was the best telemarketer they ever had. They just wanted me to I was making 5 to 7 appointments every day. I was a monster. And I had fun doing it, but I wasn't getting anywhere. Plus, being a telemarketer, as you met, the rejection is over the top.
Over the top. It's crazy the amount of rejection, and the only saving grace in it, as you just get rejected and rejected and rejected, is you get that one person who finally says, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're calling me right now. You have exactly what I need. I'm so glad you called."
Yeah, that happens. You know what? I was telemarketing today, but if I have a stack of files and things that I haven't followed up on, I made 3 appointments today. So I'm still telemarketing.
That's amazing. You are a true warrior, a true beast, 70 years old, getting after it. I love it. Who's the person that you love to help most right now? And who shows up to one of your workshops or calls you and you can make a difference?
That's a really good question. Let me process that. So the reason I go to the restaurant that you were at, okay, that is my favorite place in all of San Diego to do an event, because those are the people that come from that general area. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag where I do this, right? Because there is a lot of competition on finding places. But these are salt to the earth people, okay? These are the people that have worked hard most of their lives. They have been pretty good savers, not all of them. They've been pretty good savers. And so the perfect person for me is the person who's coming in, turning 65. And I've been saying this for 15 years, maybe more. I talk to 3 kinds of people all the time. People thinking about, people getting close to, or people who've already retired. And so depending, any one of those 3 people are the right kind of people for me. But because people are turning 65, and most of those people are still working for different reasons, many of those people will have a 401k, which means they don't have a financial advisor. Nobody's talked to them how they can actually make that money work in their retirement years. And so I find that I think half of the time, if I'm talking about, I'm just educating them on choices. Oh, you're going to like this one. This is a good line I got from a book. Okay. I don't care whether it's Medicare or financial. This is the line. Your Medicare success comes from your choices, not your chances. My job is to educate you on what those choices are. Therefore, they're not chances anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. What book? Where'd you see it?
I read it in a book called, hold on, because this guy changed my life. This is really important, okay? This guy called, wow, my brain goes blank. So I think The Perfect Advisor, that's not it. Wow, it skips my mind.
You know what? We'll
come back to me later. I'll have that answer.
Perfect. And we'll put it in the show notes. Bottom line is maybe just give us 30 seconds on how it changed your life, your business, your practice.
So I was working with a group of people, things weren't working for me. And I was contemplating getting out of the business. That's how bad it was, because I was unhappy. In fact, my wife, God bless Diana Chick, my wife of 30 plus years. So she told me one day, and I quote, "Greg, I want my friend back." It's a pretty big statement. It's a pretty big statement, because I've already been divorced once, and I've messed up enough relationship to know this is a warning sign right here. I better be listening to this, right? And so what she was telling me is that I'd become grumpier, okay, less happy, and harder to be around. That's what she said without saying it, right? And so I was going to just completely quit being in the insurance business. And part of it was I was driving to Carlsbad every day. And I thought driving to Carlsbad was the problem. That was not the problem. I'd be one of them, right? But, I can't think of this guy's name. It's crazy. I can't believe it. But so somebody with them has so much money, Mischa. I was watching a movie last night. This guy, his parents fly from Russia to America to talk to him about his new wife that he's picked up. Okay. And they have this giant private jet. And I'm like, who has these kind of airplanes? I know somebody that has one of those airplanes. Right. And this is the guy that told me that I should speak to the guy that I can't remember his name. Duncan McPherson. Oh, there it is. Okay. Duncan McPherson changed everything for me, only because I was open to change. I love and this is the truth. When the student is ready, the teacher will come. And we have proven that all different ways on most of our lives. So Duncan McPherson, I met him once at an event, so I knew who he was. He interviewed me, and his statement to me was, "Greg, why would you get out of a business that you have great passion for? It doesn't make any sense." And so while I was talking to him, I got a phone call. We've all gotten those phone calls. You look at it and you go, you don't want to take that call, right? And he threw something on the table of thoughts that I never gone through my process of thinking. It's been my process of thinking from the time I got involved in the insurance industry. Started with telemarketing trust. Then I got into selling trust. Then I got into selling annuities. Okay. I had a family. I had bills. I had to take care of stuff. And so all I did was go out and close and close and close. I was good at it. But you know what I never thought about, Mischa? I never thought if I liked them or not. Ever. I thought about whether or not they needed what I had. So I was very good at finding sources, solutions. I've always been good at finding solutions for others, not for me. I got no solutions for me. But so I was just good at finding solutions. Now here's the hard part of all marketing and all salespeople. You've been through it. You know it. You got the solution. That's great. But now you got to find the right person to get it to. Okay. That's called marketing. And I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years of marketing, trying to find the person where the solution matches up to. And what happens then after you spend all this money, you're in front of this person, what do you got to do?
Close them.
Close them. They need to buy today. No choices. None. So you go through your little process. I had my process for years. I've developed a lot of different things. And one of them was, I just like to ask questions that lead you down a path that you have to answer yes to. Because if you answer no, you feel stupid. So by the time we get to the end, all of those things are done and we just take care of business, right? But I never thought about whether I liked you. So when I took that call, or ignored that call, I can't remember which one they want in front of Duncan McPherson. He goes, I think I just figured you out. I said, what is that? He goes, you're looking for the right fit. I'm like, what? He goes, you didn't want to take that call because you don't like them. Am I right? I said, yeah, it's worse than that. I do not like them. He goes, well, then you need to get rid of them. And I'm like, my brain is like, what? And he threw numbers at me. I've heard these numbers that 20% of your clients bring you 80% of your business. So you need to make that 80% of your clients more like the 20. It's impossible. People don't change, Mischa. Ever. Okay? We are who we are. So I said, okay. So anyway, I decided to hire him as a consultant at that moment. And he was more expensive than I wanted. But what a multi-millionaire, a guy who owns his own jet plane. This guy, by the way, has so much money, Mischa. I was in a trip in Portugal. My wife and I missed the shuttle to the hotel. And he said, what's you take my car? I said, you have a car? He goes, yeah, my driver's right over there. So he yells over his driver, and we walk over here. We're getting this black Lincoln. And we're driving. This guy's very chatty, right? This car he travels with to other countries. This is his car in America. Okay, so we're not talking normal money here. We're talking gross, absurd money. So when a man like that says, you need to talk to this guy, you better listen. Okay, so now Dawkins decides he's going to help me, right? And part of the process was I had to read this book. For the life of me, I cannot think of the name of the book. It had to do with more of financial advisors, like investment guys than insurance guys. Okay, but that's okay. It's from that book I got that line that I used a minute ago, right?
Did Duncan write the book?
He did.
Okay.
He did. Duncan McPherson. Yeah. So,
Beautiful.
Anyway, here's the sentence. Yeah. Oh, by the way, he made me pay for that book, and I was pissed. Duncan, I hope you're listening. All right. But anyway, so I didn't want to buy the book because I thought, can't you just, why buy it? Can't you sell it? What the hell? Right. So here's the sentence. And it said, describe your perfect client. Mischa, I never thought about what my perfect client was. You know what I thought about? Go ahead.
How much money you were going to make?
Yes, that was part of it. Or it was, I just need to get paid.
Yeah.
So the stupidest thing that I'm about to say is something I was told when I was younger by older guys in the business. When you got to stop worrying about the money because the money will take care of itself. That didn't make any sense to me when I was young and I got, to pay bills and buy food and all the shit that goes with it. So within seconds of reading that line, I'm gonna pull this up for you. Within seconds, I wrote something that was so powerful I could not deny it. Let me see if I can pull it up. And I'm not very artsy or craftsy guy. That's not who I am.
Hey, I'm looking at books right here. The Advisor Playbook.
That's it.
That's it? Cool.
That's it.
The Advisor Playbook, The Advisor Playbook, Regain Liberation and Order in Your Personal and Professional Life by
Amazing.
Duncan McPherson.
Well written. Okay. I was surprised how well written it was. So I read this sentence, describe your perfect client. Never thought about it. And I started writing. I want to read you the list as I wrote it immediately. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. Client requirements. Be kind and nice people. Have sound personal and family values. Be open to suggestions. Be respectful to us and our staff. Value our time. Be teachable. Be trusting. Have a sense of humor. God, please, let's have fun. Be realistic and honest about themselves and their goals. Be engaged in our process.
Amazing. You wrote that came to you as soon as you read that line in that book, and your business and your life, your relationship with your wife, everything changed that day?
No, it took time. So you saw the movie Jerry Maguire, right?
Of course.
This is a Jerry Maguire moment. Dude, I'm so excited about this list. I put it in the phone, and there it is, my phone. It's still there, okay? And then I came to the office, and then I printed it up, and then we had a corporate meeting on Tuesday, and I took this to the corporate meeting just like Jerry Maguire. God, it was ridiculous. And I handed this out, and I'm so excited about this. Like, here's our new intake process. I wasn't that excited when I explained it. Well, other people were not as excited as I am. Well, that's pretty much true all the time. But they didn't really quite show the enthusiasm I thought they would. And so it took about a matter of weeks for all I'm about to tell you to develop. So Then I figured out that, oh, okay, this is my list, not theirs. But here why this was eye-opening and why I changed my practice a lot. It took time. Up to this point, I was introducing myself as a financial advisor. Okay. I had an elevator speech. You know what that is?
Yep.
Yep. So
15,
I had a
30
30 or
seconds.
40-second deal when I meet somebody. This is what I do. This is who I am. The idea is to attract people to that. When you go through that list, what are financial advisors interested in, Misha?
They're interested in money and pooling money and
Money. Okay. That list I gave you, there's not anything on that list that has to do with money.
nothing.
Nothing. Right? But when I gave that list to Duncan, he was so excited. He asked if he could have it to share it around the country. His exact words were, "You are the only person that did it 100% correctly what I'm looking for." That was kind of cool. So after looking at the list, and a little time goes by, I realize it's my list, not theirs. That's why they're not excited. Right? But then after talking to Duncan, after showing him this list, this was the beginning of big change. We decided that it was his idea. He goes, "Well, yes, that's a great list. How are we going to incorporate it?" Because what I was trying to do was eliminate people in my life I didn't like or didn't want. So he had the idea. He said, "Well, do you know who your clients are?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Why don't you go through your clients and look at that list and let's make up a number of people." Basically, I came up with the idea that if they weren't half of those things on that list, then they were a bad fit for me.
I love that.
All
That's
right.
genius and beautiful. It's amazing.
So we went through the list. I went through the list. And then he helped me design a very crafty, well put letter because I'm not very good at those things, which is one of the things that also in my life I've learned what I'm not good at, let's let somebody else to do that shit. Let's not try and make myself something I'm not. So the letter basically said, we sent it to the people that I didn't want as clients for different reasons. And the letter basically said, the direction of my practice is going in a different direction than when we first met. I no longer believe that you're a good fit for the direction we're going. Please let us know what you'd like to do with your file. Here's three advisor names. If you don't respond within 90 days of these to which these names you'd like me to send your file, I will be sending it back to you directly.
What?
Yeah. I got a lot of people got out of my life this way.
That is incredible, Greg.
And a lot of people were pissed. A lot. And I didn't care because I began to see what that list really was. That list is who I am. That was a God-inspired moment. I mean, if you believe in God and you get inspired, that's not fake. That's the real shit right there. Right? Yeah. And so that's why that list began to change my life. And then over the course of just a little bit more time, I realized the people I worked with weren't half of those things either. So I had to get rid of them. Just like my clients. So I shortened my practice and I found, through the grace of God, someone loaned me some money so I can start my practice over again. And I reinvented myself at 62.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible. Okay. What are some of the biggest hesitations people have about Medicare or just annuities or moving their money, and how do you help them walk through it?
Well, again, most of my business now is Medicare. Okay. So we'll just do that.
Okay.
The money is a whole other conversation. Right.
Yep.
So there were 34 people the night that you came. Okay.
Yep.
And from that many people, I'll usually make 10 to 12 appointments. I've only made 6 or 7. It doesn't really matter. But it's not a hesitation. It's that they're not quite at the moment ready. Okay. Whether by age. So there's a period of time you can sign up before Medicare, before you turn 65. So people aren't at that age yet. Or they're still working. This is another or people are hesitant. They're still working. They have private insurance, um, or their spouse has insurance. Okay, so those are the things. So the reason people come to the workshop is because they are afraid of being penalized. They want to learn. They don't care about the meal. Most of the time, I do have a couple of plate lickers, but they're there to learn. So the hesitancy isn't so much that they don't want to do it. It's just that they're not in the position at that moment to do it.
Mm.
So let's go back to the follow-up you asked earlier, right?
Yep.
I don't know if I'm going to let all my secrets out, but I tell all my inner circle this, so who cares? All right. I learned that if I market to people a year before they turn 65, I'm ahead of everybody else. Then I meet with them, or I see their date of birth on form. Okay. Let's say their date of birth is November 9th, 2025. Well, let's go backwards then. 10, 9, 8. That's their enrollment period, 3 months before. So I'm going to call them on the phone after this. Every event I do this. I will call every single person that came and say, thank you for attending. I can't count the amount of times I make appointments from that call. Oh, another thing, and I don't think I did it that night, but I try to tell people, I try to remember when I hold up that telephone, talk about telephone, I try to remember to tell them, you should put my phone number in your phone so you can truly screen me when I call.
I remember.
What?
Oh my gosh. So fun.
And so the reason for that is that let's say they don't pick up the phone, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I'd rather they did. A lot of times on the box, it's saying, call me next week. I'll tell them, okay, I'll call them next week. And then I put it in my calendar. So let's go back to this November 65. So 10, 9, 8. So I will tell them, I'll leave them a message that I'm going to contact them in July, whatever the date is. I'll put it on the calendar to phone this person and to remind them about their initial enrollment dates. And so my calendar is filled all the time with all these calls because I've been marketing this way for a while. I am not bored. I mean, all that file folder thing I showed you, those are all active files. Those are all active files of people I'm working with right now over periods of time. And I'm going to have a stack over there of people I will not call until later on in the year. I don't have room in this stack over here.
You know, they have online CRMs now.
They do.
You know what though? I am a fan of the old school file system. I know so many people that try to automate it with CRMs, and most people don't follow the CRM flow. It's easier to have the actual files right in front of you and literally just move the file up the chain or whatever it is.
About CRMs. I hired a woman. Funny story. So a couple of years ago, I meet this woman. I forget exactly how, and she came to an interview. Was I looking for somebody? Not really. And she dropped the bomb on me. She wanted $75 an hour. And I looked at her and I was like, $75 an hour? I said, don't say anything yet. I said, let me say something about that. I said, it takes big, gigantic, golden balls to ask for that much money. What are you talking about? And I crossed the line right there. Okay. But she came from a referral from somebody in our program. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hire you for 2 weeks. I'm going to for 4 hours a day, 3 days a week, if you want. And we'll see how much value I get for $75. Because if you give me the value that money costs, I'm in. She did not. Her whole thing was to try and convince me to do a CRM. I let her go after the first week. So you got nothing. But here's what I don't like about CRMs. Yeah. They're only as good as the people putting in the information. And to take the time to put in the information, it's hard. And I don't type fast. So I don't use CRMs because they don't work for me. I do everything in Google Drive. Ready? All right. So while we were talking, you heard the phone ring?
Yep.
Miss Cynthia Wilson's calling me to say that she got her Medicare card. She's ready to sign up. This happens all the time. You know what else happens all the time? I get so many referrals, Mischa. It blows my mind. I helped a lot of people with estate plans. Rarely did I get a referral. I helped a lot of people with retirement income plans or moving assets around, whatever. Never did I get a referral that was worth a shit, ever. Okay? I get referrals doing this all the time. It's amazing. So let's take the next level. So listen to this on my notes, just so because you were talking about the money and whatnot, that she has worked for 28 years for a hospital. Do you know what that means?
She's got a
401k.
401k.
Okay. That means that the odds became increasingly better, that there'll be more transactions. Do I count on that? No. But is there a possibility? Yes.
It's beautiful. Ready for the next question?
I am.
Tell us about someone who walked in confused or skeptical and left saying, wow, I feel taken care of. Any wins that stand out?
Yeah, a guy came to me last year. There's two kinds of plans in Medicare, and one is a Medigap plan, which gives you the ability to go to any doctor you want, anywhere in the United States that takes Medicare. The other is a Medicare Advantage plan, which requires you to have a primary doctor, and the primary doctor gives you referrals, and you have to stay within a certain system generally. Okay. So this guy had been referred to me by his neighbor, and he completely had blocked this whole world up. He took a phone call. Anybody who's listening to this message on this podcast, don't take phone calls on Medicare from people you don't know. Okay, don't do it. They're just trying to make a sale. So this person who contacted them convinced them to get out of their really good plan into a shittier plan that cost them less money a month, but it was a crappy plan. Okay? Then there's certain rules in Medicare. So then when you have the plan that he had, you also have to have a prescription drug plan. Okay? Can't have one without the other without being penalized. But then on his own accord, just before I meet him, this would have been in December, he's got a reminder about his prescription drug plan. He goes, oh, I need to renew that. So when he renewed that, the rules are, it canceled his other policy that he had just got from this guy on the phone. So when I met him, Mischa, he had no policies except a drug. And he didn't even know it. And because he had got cancer, he was diagnosed with cancer in December, he couldn't get back on that better plan in January. But he had no insurance when I met him. And I had to go do a lot of different things to get this all to work. So when it was all done, he left here very, very grateful, okay, that I was able to help him. And so, Cynthia Wilson is not a referral, and I'm just a woman who was supposed to come to me. Anyway, I get so many people who are so happy that I was able to help them that they tell their friends, this is the guy you got to talk to. It's a beautiful business. Beautiful business. So people walk away being grateful. I can't count the amount of people, honestly, the people said, I am so grateful or so happy or thank you so much. I get so many people say that. They don't usually say that in the financial services industry.
Skepticism and frustration the whole way. Right? That just never good enough, never happy enough. Okay. That's beautiful. Thank you for that. Okay. Now, Greg, I know you've seen it all. I need to hear it. What's one of the craziest things that's ever happened to you on a sales call or in-home appointment?
Oh my God. I should write a book about in-home appointments. I have too many, but I'll tell you one that comes to mind. I'm brand new in the business of, remember I said I went from being a telemarketer to selling trucks?
Yep.
Okay, so I left the office to go into people's homes. And I didn't understand the rules and parameters of the annuity. I just knew that the people that made the real money sold annuities. Okay. So This guy, Doug McKay. Doug McKay is still a personal friend of mine. He sent me a text just about a month ago saying, hey, I'm turning 65 pretty soon. I'll be coming to see you. So that was 26 years ago this happened with him, and we're still friends, right? So I meet this lady. She's old. She has some assets that need help. I don't know what that means. I just know that Doug McKay is the man, okay? He's the number one guy in that firm that does that. So I make another appointment for Doug to come out, right? So I tell him, before we go in, I said, dude, we're gonna sit in this dining room. There's a giant table. There's barely room for the table. But at the end of the room, so it's one of the older houses where it has like an alcove, a circle alcove, right? I said, but at the end of the alcove is her record player. It plays metal records. It's got like little squares out of it, and she has to crank it up. And it's her pride and joy. So we have to have her show us this record player. Okay. So the dining room table is so big that you get around, you get anywhere, you got to get out and push the chair all the way in to be able to go by it. Okay. So I'm sitting next to her. He's sitting over here. So she wants to show the record player. Just like I said, she gets up, she stumbles, right? She cracks herself on the chair, but as all this happens, I notice her purse falls on the ground. So she goes over and, it's dark on the ground and so close to the walls. And so I pick up the purse. I don't want her to trip over it when she comes to sit down again. And I pick up the purse and I see a couple other things on the ground. It's dark underneath there, but I don't want her to trip on it. She's kind of feeble, right? So there's two of them and I pick them up, and as I bring them up to the top of the table, what I'm holding in my hand is each of her breasts. They have fallen out. And now I've got two breasts in my hand. And my friend Doug is looking at me, and I look at him like, you want them? He goes, I don't know, right? So what do I do with these breasts? So I end up putting them back in her purse and closing her purse. That was.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Oh my gosh. All right. You've been doing this a long time and you're still standing strong. What's your approach to sales that keeps you relevant, trusted, and effective after all these years? And actually, I think you already spoke to that with your list that you made, but go ahead.
It's such a deep question, really. So I will say that you were at the workshop. So I closed that workshop with, the best part of my life is having purpose. And that purpose gives me passion. And that passion gives me purpose. And so what many people, they don't have a passion for what they're doing, right? My passion is helping people. Remember I said earlier in this interview that when I was younger, older guys would tell me, hey, don't worry about the money. The money will take care of itself. Okay. So finally, about 10 years ago, I figured this out, maybe less. And so when I stopped caring about the money, I could just care about the people. And so my passion is helping every single person that needs help. I don't care who you are. There was a guy that came to my office 3 times wearing his pajamas. Like, who wears pajamas to an appointment? I don't know. Pajamas is a thing. People wear them everywhere now. But my point is trying to say that my goal is to help as many as I can before I die. I'm alive until 105. That's my purpose.
I love it. Are you ready for the rapid fire round? It's time for some quick hits. No overthinking. You ready, Greg?
So, yep.
First thing you ever sold?
Fruit.
Fruit. Side of the road, Hawaii, right?
No. I was 7 years old. They sold fruit from a wagon.
Amazing. Best closing line you've ever used?
Oh, God, this is great. In front of the client, with the wife, he's not in. I says to her, when this is all said and done, will you feel better about this? And she goes, yes. I turned and looked at him and I said, I don't know how it works in your household, but in my household, when my wife is happy, my life is better. Don't you want her to have this happiness? Whoa.
Oh, my God.
You know why I know that was so good? He took me outside and said, nobody's ever done that to me before, and I don't appreciate it. I said, wow, I wanted something now.
Worst rejection you still remember?
So many. Here's my favorite. I'm sitting with a retired sheriff. We're in his kitchen. Small table, kind of like at where you sit up higher in the stool, like a bar. So we're close. He's been a dick through the whole process, right? And so I pretty much had my fill of him. And so at the end, he said, well, I have your card. And I reached across the table and I snatched it right out of his hand. And I said, no, you do not. I will give it to somebody who wants it. And I walked the door.
One thing you miss about in-home sales?
Nothing. Okay. All right. Oh, sorry. You know what I miss? I miss the weird ass shit that I would see.
Oh my God. I bet you just have so many stories. We'll save it for episode 2.
Yeah.
One thing, oh wait, favorite sales movie or character?
Jerry Maguire.
God, that's a good movie. I love that. One piece of gear or tool you can't live without now.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
That's, no. I don't even use pens very much anymore except for notes. Everything's done on the computer. So without the computer, I'm hosed. But you know what? I have this pen. I've had this pen right here. Funny, I saw it over here for 25 years. Wrote so many deals with this pen. So many. Crazy.
beautiful. What's your guilty pleasure when you're off the clock?
If it was just you and I talking, I'd have a different thing to say. But napping.
Of course. Best part about being 70 and still in the game?
I'm an anomaly. Because there aren't a lot of people that there are, actually in Medicare, there's a lot of people my age, a lot. Okay. But, ask the question again.
Best part about being 70 and still in the game?
I have enough experience to be able to apply a little bit of wisdom to what not to do.
It's good. It's very good. Okay, segment number 9, Dare to Share. All right, it's time for Dare to Share, where we get honest, raw, and maybe a little uncomfortable. Are you ready?
Yes.
What's
Hold
a
on. One thing to say. Let's go.
what's a truth you learned the hard way in business?
The truth I learned the hard way in business.
Yeah.
Got to be honest. You got to come from a place of honesty. People read through that. Or desperate. If you're desperate, people read through that. I learned that the hard way.
And the hard way being what's the pain point there?
The
Being
pain is that
broke.
it's canceled. Okay. It's not just rejection anymore. It's like I've been paid and now I get a charge back or something. If you don't represent well, people change their minds.
That's good. Very good. Thank you for that. What's one sale you regret, not for the money, but for how it felt?
And a lot of them. Remember, most of my life is all about closing. Okay. A funny note, and then I'll come back. You're going to ask that question again. Is years ago, I helped a person with an annuity when that's all I did was sell annuities. And they had a heart attack. Swear to God. They did. But ask the question again.
Okay. What's one sale you regret, not for the money, but for how it felt?
I helped somebody. They were a client of the company I worked for. I went to go review their trust. And it's out in North County. And there was a CD that was maturing. And so we didn't have enough interest. We could get better money by moving it to an annuity. So we were going to roll that money over. So I said, well, we don't have to be in a hurry for this. It's going to mature in 2 months. We'll just do it 2 months. Meeting went well. I liked the person. Everything was great. What I did not know at that time, that person had someone in the other room recording the entire conversation. And then that person took that conversation to the North County Times, and they had an article in the newspaper about me and about the company. It was all about, they were trying to sue a giant company by the name of Allianz that was already in a multi-class action lawsuit. They thought they could jump in that way. By the time it was all settled and done, and I liked this person, right? It was like, how could they do that? I don't understand. And so by the time it's all said and done, I didn't do anything wrong because we never moved the money. So that person wasted all of their time, energy, and effort, but it was in the newspaper. And the newspaper would not retract the story.
Interesting. Tell me about the heart attack thing. Did you were on an appointment and they had a heart attack? Is that what
No, I
happened
was
there?
on
No.
appointment, moved their money, and then came back, and there was an ambulance, and the person said they've had a heart attack. I came back because I forgot something, right? It was a heart attack. Whether it was from me or not, I don't know, but I think it was from me. Yeah.
So did the deal go through?
No, they died.
Okay.
Okay, here's
What's-
another one. Oh, I got another one.
Okay.
I had a client. His name was Richard Gone. Okay. G-O-N-E. So I went back out to his house and he had died. And when I went back to the office, they asked, how did it go? And I said, Dick's gone.
Okay. Okay. What's something you used to believe about sales that you don't anymore?
I don't have to close anybody. I don't need to close anybody. I don't close anybody. The objective is to help them with the information so that you guide them to the right space where they need to be. I don't, in fact, I've said this in multiple times. You're not here to buy something. You're here to buy into something.
It's good.
Close. It's although I've been questioning that a little bit of late after a couple of things have not gone my way. But that's what I've been trying to get to, is the guy that just helps, that instructs and educates and move them to the place they need to be. I do believe in this, though. I want to offer them A or B choices. Never yes or no, A or B. Do you want this one or this one? It's never in between.
Love it. When was the last time you bombed a sale, and how did you bounce back?
Well, it just happened a week ago. So, here's about, losing a sale is all about ego. Okay. And when you're using your ego, then you're edging God out. And so where is God in all that? And I ask a number of people in my life, when something's wrong, where's God in that? So I have to believe that everything is happening for a reason. So that's how, I just, I told you a little bit what happened in November, and it was very hard. And faith and trust is a hard thing when you're a salesperson. Very difficult. And I don't have a real answer of how I do that, because then we would have a whole other conversation, is how God working in your life.
I think I can answer it for you, in that I've known you for so long, and both of us have been through the ups and downs of sales, life, death, relationships blowing up, all that stuff. And I think when those big sales fall through, we need to pray, meditate, inventory, and use that as a time to recharge or reset our priorities, or accept outcomes, let go of outcomes, trust in God, right?
Well, the outcome, and that's, yes. So this is how I walk through that, is that I did all I could. I was into action. My mentor in my life is always telling me, I respect you because you're always into action, but the results aren't known.
Love that. Beautiful. What's one personal challenge you overcame that made you better at your work?
Well, because of prior to you meeting me, my incarceration lives, okay, I had to overcome that and continue to overcome that all the time. And that every single insurance company that gives me a license to represent their products, I have to drag all that stuff out over and over and over again. It's always never gets easy or ever, because that's who I was. It's not who I am. I recently had a difficulty getting caught, like in Texas, a few years ago. I couldn't get my license in Texas. And I said, you guys are judging me for what happened 35 years ago. You don't give a crap about what I've done since then. So that always bothers me.
Mm, mm, mm. I know you've shown incredible tenacity, wherewithal, and trust over the time that I've known you to work through that. So God bless you for that, and the people you serve because of your tenacity.
Well, exactly all came up once. There was I was super excited, new product, blah, 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 company really rocking. I was the bottom floor, going places. And then these people ended up being thieves. And then there was a court case because of it. And I didn't do anything. It just the way it all worked out. But one of the representatives, one of the people that I helped with one of these products, I didn't even know this. They were brought into the courtroom and asked questions about this incident that I had almost nothing to do with. But in that situation, my past was brought up to them in the present. That question was asked, did he tell you these things? It's a good story, Mischa. So I'm sitting there with my new associates, the people up north that I had to disassociate from 9 years later, whatever. But in a meeting with him, this question is brought up, and this is funny. I remember the wife. Go ahead, Harry, tell him. Go ahead, Harry, tell him. So then Harry asked the question, why didn't you ever tell us? And I said, well, in what world that you've ever been in, would that be an appropriate thing to bring up in the transactions of which we were taking place? And then I told him my whole story, what I've been able to do because of it. And in the program, in the loving of others, and how that all those things that happened were exactly the way we're supposed to be, so I could be the person I am now. It was cool. They accepted it and loved me the more for it.
That is beautiful. What's one thing most people don't know about you that you're proud of?
I'm a heterosexual. No. What most people don't know? All right, here's what most people don't know. Those who know me well. I love to say this. Those who know me, they know how hard I try. And those who know me know how trying I really am. So what most people don't know, because they're never going to know, because they're not around me enough, and I was just talking about this yesterday with my old boss, that I am exceptional. Exceptional. Butting into other people's conversations along the way. And having so much fun with them and this and that. 95% of the time, it's exceptional. Now, the 5% that's not, it can get ugly fast.
It's good. I think this is a great place to wrap it up. If I have a little call to action pre-written for you, if you'd like me to read it.
Please.
Amazing. If you want someone you can trust to help you with Medicare or annuities, or you just want clarity with your financial options, book a call with Greg at calendly.com/Greg-396. Again, calendly.com/Greg-396. That will be in the show notes. Or check out Greg at club65advisor.com. club65advisor.com. Greg's the real deal. Greg, anything else?
No. Great job, Mischa. You took some time to write down those questions. It was worth every penny I paid you.
Amazing. You know what? That makes my heart shine right there. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.